Hello, I'm Mark. This is Geeks Unleashed, episode 229. So each week on the Geeks Unleashed podcast, we catch up on our pop culture lives. We discuss some movie news, some trailer reactions, and then we also bring you a movie review. This week, I'm actually joined by a first-time appearance on the show, Laurence. How you doing?
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Yeah, good man. Do you want to just tell anyone a little bit about yourself, like where you write and where you're based and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm based in Naperville, Illinois, and I write for the Big Comic Page, a site that probably most people haven't heard, but I'm curious if anyone in the UK has heard of them.
Well, we're live on YouTube. People could be watching in America too, so So anyway, before we get started, we are on YouTube. So if you're watching, please like, subscribe, all that stuff, and also, if you happen to be re-watching this when we finished, please leave a comment. Let us know what you loved or maybe didn't love about Mulholland Drive. And if you are on your favorite podcasting platform on Spotify, you can leave a comment on the episode as well. And all the other platforms like Apple and stuff like that, you can just leave reviews. So we would appreciate any of those good things. So firstly, man, Laurence, thanks for coming on. How's your week been?
It's been long, but been filled with a lot of geek pop culture stuff. So
I look forward to hearing more about your interests, actually. So, okay, so actually that might be a good segue to just jump into something that we could do called Geek of the Week. So for anyone who's been watching or listening for the first time, Geek of the Week is something that myself or Laurence may have done on our own as the week has progressed. And so Laurence, is there anything you may have covered this week that you want to shout out about?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I would talk about was the movie Whistle. It's on Shudder right now. It's a movie
Tom is normally on the scene as well, actually. So I haven't seen it.
It's a movie that I sadly passed on when it was in theaters, and I regret that terribly. And it was so much fun. The characters are unbelievably organic and likable. And then I just didn't even realize that it was Daphne Keane until, probably 20 minutes into the movie. And I'm like, is that X-23?
Yeah, I had heard that she was in it. So, I'd like to watch it. I'm a big fan of Daphne. I saw her in the Wolverine movies, but I loved her in his Dark Materials. Did you ever watch that?
I've not.
Okay, so it's a BBC miniseries, 3 seasons, and I can't remember how many episodes, like 8 episodes each or something. And she's a lot younger, but however, over the 3 seasons, you gradually see her get to kind of the age where she's not far off being in sort of Whistle. So, okay, so my Geek of the Week is actually something also horrible. It's called Over Your Dead Body. There's a lot of violence. It's like a horror comedy, I would say. It's a dysfunctional couple. They head off to a remote cabin with the intention of both killing each other. The husband basically plans on killing his wife, and she plans on killing him because she works out before they went on holiday. That's what he was up to. This whole weekend does not go anywhere near the way they both planned. It is incredibly silly, chaotic, and a whole lot of fun. Now, it stars there's quite a few big names in here, but Samara Weaving, who I absolutely love, is one of the front runners with Jason Segel. And I just, anything with Samara in, I'm down for. I think just how she, I don't know, her whole presence, when she's on screen, I'm buying it in. I'm buying it. It doesn't really matter do you know what, man? If they were to make a Ready or Not 4, 5, 6, I'm just going to be there just to watch it. I don't care how silly they make that plot. I just think what I love about her as an actress is just even her facial features, just how her face moves. I'm there for it. And when I see her being interviewed as well, she just seems absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, she's really good in this. Timothy Oliphant is also in this. And Paul, I wish I could say his name, Paul
Gillifoy?
Yeah, him. He makes a very small appearance. Juliette Lewis is also in it. It's a good film, man. Like, it's a laugh.
I loved it. I mean, that was one of those where, they did like one of those AMC fan events. So I'm at the movies literally every Thursday unless I'm sick. And that one, I think I was there on a Tuesday and then went to go see something on a Wednesday and then saw the movie of the week on Thursday.
Oh, nice, man. I saw it digitally, but I wish I could have seen it on the big screen, but yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was just trying to think, actually. What's he? Okay. So he's been in a few things, but nothing that was jumping out at me, like Despicable Me, and nothing that I really feel has captured my attention, if I'm honest with you. But he's a face I've seen around. But
yeah,
he was good in it still. It gave me Gone Girl vibes at the end.
I guess I could see that.
Not as like dark as Gone Girl, but like when they were like, how are we gonna, sort of turn this around for ourselves? Because obviously they're in a whole shit show at the end, and I felt like that was kind of that vibe. Not obviously more funnily done, but
right. It's much, the brutality is a much more palpable thing than like say something like Ready or Not 2, where I was just like, oh my god, this.
I always hate these films when they get the lawnmower out and the lawnmower's upside down and the blade's going. I'm like, no, man, that is not for me. So, okay, so we'll move on to what we do. Next, we do something called Geek. Sort of our news, Geek news. There's a few bits I want to cover off, and actually, the first thing I'm gonna bring up is something that happened around 5 p.m. today. Well, it got announced at 5 p.m. today. So Anthony Stewart Head, who is the well-known for playing Giles, as well as a few other roles, including Ted Lasso, Merlin. He played our Prime Minister here in the British comedy Little Britain. Unfortunately, he passed away today at the age of 72. I'm just like, man, 72 is no age at all, really. Like, my parents are 75 now. He's probably, I don't know, man. I'd like to think I could get to at least 90. So it's quite a sad day, really, for massive pop culture fans, but also his family and friends. And yesterday, Oscar-nominated Persepolis author, I'm going to struggle with her name, but Marjane Strapari died also at the age of 56, which is really sad as well. So myself and Jasmine, we reviewed the graphic novel Persepolis quite a few years ago, and man. So it's just, that's even sadder, really, at the age of 56. Because So, but had you caught both of those news pieces earlier?
I did, about Anthony
Stewart
Head. I love. He's my favorite character in Buffy. I actually just finished Buffy and Angel for the first time like a couple weeks ago, and I think my favorite characters are Faith and Wesley, but Giles was always my number one.
I love Faith. I think, if I'm honest with you, Angel was my favorite series out of the two.
I think that I would agree with you, especially ending wise. Like, I was kind of like
that ending, man. Like that. To be honest, though, that's how they should end most TV shows.
Right.
Well, maybe not most TV shows, but shows of that nature. And at the time, it really annoyed me because they spent the whole episode building up to that huge fight at the end, and then they end mid-battle, and I was like, what? And I can't remember if I looked it up or what it was, or read about it, and they said they always felt that Angel was about the battle, so that's how they felt it should end mid-battle.
I definitely liked that tone more, like having watched it right after the Buffy finale, or like finishing Buffy, then watching that season of Angel, and then being like, you don't get the battle, but I feel like you didn't need it because it just ended so epically.
Yeah, I didn't hate Buffy or anything like that, but I just feel my preference was Angel of the two series. So, okay, so we do some trailer reactions here as well, and the first one I want to do is mild. The second one I want to do is not mild, and I don't believe there should be any children watching, but we will cover it off in a minute. So the first one is called Onslaught. It comes out it'll be select theatre. Well, it's select theatres kind of now, really, but it's an A24 action horror, and it stars Adria Arjona. I struggle with people's names when they're anyway. So I'm going to play the trailer now, and then we can have a little chat about it.
How long has it been here, Celeste? You need to get over your shit, soldier.
I like it here. It's safe.
Look, I got an emergency meeting. You're up, Mom.
No. It's a burrito. Eat a burrito with your hands. Like this. Quiet. Big bite. That's my bro. This is the second time that Black Hawk has gone over us today. They're up to something in the desert north of here. Some kind of secret base or some shit.
What you are witnessing here is the human equivalent of a heat-seeking missile. Perfect soldier.
Would you mind telling me what I'm up against tonight?
We're set out to create an ideal combatant to be deployed against the domestic populace. These men are conditioned to kill until they are stopped.
Do you have any practical advice for engagement?
Use your best judgment and cover our tracks.
Don't be afraid. We're your government.
Where are you going?
Go to your room. Get under the bed. Mama needs to get her guns. Cover your ears.
Why?
I'm just gonna say a lot of bad words, okay?
You little bitch!
Wrong trailer park, motherfucker!
Oh, what do you think?
So I always kind of feel like these movies look generic, but I think one of the things that always gets me excited about these kind of films are the simple premise, and all they have to do is just have fun with making that movie and giving the audience a good time.
I think A24 now is something that people need to really like, if they have not been paying attention previously. Backrooms, for instance, got released last weekend. 10 million it cost to make. It's now crossed 100 million in terms of revenue at the box office within a week. So
Horror's making a big comeback, just like any good slasher.
horror definitely, but I also feel I've noticed this a lot this year particularly. I've noticed this. There's a lot of films out. There's probably at least two new films a week coming out since January, and most of the budget on those films is less than about 40 million. And I would say most, even 20 million. I think Help was made for like 20 million or something. It was quite small. But how well these films are doing, and I know that's another horror comedy, so I'm reinforcing what you just said. But a lot of these films that are sort of propping up the cinema are much lower budget films. But I think that's the way cinema is now trending, to go down this sort of indie lower budget route with maybe 10 films throughout the year that are the big money earners, like Odyssey and Avengers, and we're waiting for those big ones. But what's keeping the lights on is these smaller films like this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm definitely coming around to. I wouldn't say come around. I am already there. A huge A24 fan. I think since I watched Civil War a couple of years ago, and I'm sort of been there for most of their films now.
I think the big one. I feel like there's definitely movies that I liked before it, but Everything Everywhere All at Once was like a movie that I loved.
I hated that film. I really hated that film.
All right.
I feel like I need to rewatch it because everyone was going on about it, and I went, fine, I'll watch it. Like, because everyone was like in love with that movie. So I sat down to watch it, and I'm like, how can I watch it? Yeah, maybe I should give it a second chance. I'm not opposed to it. I think I said this to you off air. Like a second viewing sometimes can change your opinion. So I will be open to watching it again, but I didn't love it the first time around.
Okay, fair enough.
What made you love it though? Like, what was?
So I think the wackiness was a little bit much for me at the time, but
Okay.
I think the thing that I loved about it was just the story at heart, right? It's kind of a mother and a daughter reconnecting with kind of, everyone feels like the world is out to get them, and we get that in spades, and the idea that they go multiversal. I always laugh about the moment where it's like two rocks talking to each other, but it's like the most touching part of one of the crazier scenes in that movie. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, how did you do that? Like, not just on screen, but on paper.
Oh, yeah, the rock thing. Yeah, I forgot about that. But, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll try and watch it again. Maybe not tonight or anything, but maybe in the next few weeks I'll try and get another watch. But yeah, I've been getting a lot more into this stuff. The A24's got a film coming out soon called The Invite, which looks really cool as well. Have you seen it yet?
I've not.
Okay, because I know you get a couple of early release stuff, so I wondered if you'd had a chance to have a look.
I haven't gotten to connect with A24 yet, but I need to.
Oh, okay. So they're on the list. Right. Okay, so this film I'm about to play, I don't believe anybody young would be awake now, but since YouTube is around the world, if anybody young is watching, what I'm about to put on now is Ice Cream Man. And have you seen it yet?
I have, and I believe this is a remake of an original Ice Cream Man movie.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put it on.
Someone hurt my mommy. Who? Me.
Ram.
Oh my God! You guys see that weird ice cream man today?
What do you mean weird?
He just kept popping up, like he was following me. Is everyone sick or something? Marcella! Marcella!
Back to your classroom. What is going on here?
This isn't funny!
Jesus fucking Christ! What have you done?
That ice cream's demonic. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to turn us. We have to run.
You can't just kill him. You have to cut his head off.
Kids.
Oh. That film looks extreme. Really, like, yeah, that is. I just quickly looked it up. It is an original story. It's not based off the B movie from 1995 or based off the comic book, apparently. So it's directed and written by Eli Roth, and it is due to come out in August and September in various places. So Belgium the 5th of August, Germany and Australia the 6th, and then most people are then getting it on the 7th of August. However, Brazil, Mexico, and Spain are getting it towards the end of August and September. So yeah,
it's the end of summer.
I mean, yeah. So, are you gonna watch it?
Yeah, so I'm a big horror fan. I'll watch anything basically from dramas to indie movies. I mean, like you give me a movie and I'll sit down and watch it if
Okay.
if there's a not even a reason to do it, but like I will never fight people when they're like, "Can we watch this movie?" But yeah, no, I will absolutely be there. I loved.
I had this conversation the other day with someone. So black and white films.
I haven't gotten to watch as many as I'd like to, but I'm going backwards with watching like a lot of the Universal monsters.
No issue with it.
Oh no, like I mean, like I might sit there and be like, all right, this is the product of its time, and like I had to be there, and like stories have gotten much more complicated and more interesting. But back then, it was this is the bad guy, this is the good guy, you know, this is the romantic movie. It's not even necessarily a comedy.
Because I watched It's a Wonderful Life for the first time last year in December, and obviously black and white movie. And like you said, it's a product of its time. But I really enjoyed watching it for what it was. I couldn't believe in some ways I'd left it so long to watch it, but went through a bit of a kick at one point last year, just watching like loads of old films, and I just thought I was around December time. I thought, well, why not put on It's a Wonderful Life? You know, it's the time of year, and you know, so.
I watched it for the first time 2 years ago, and I feel the same way. But that one surprised me because I was like, "Oh, I'm surprised at how dark this story gets."
Especially it's almost like kind of like a Scrooge thing in a way. It's a bit like that. So, you open to foreign language films as well?
Yeah, so I mean, like I have a book by Roger Ebert of his like best films, and like a number of those are foreign, and I'll sit through those. But sometimes, you know, if it's like a 2.5-hour movie, I might be like, all right, give me like 1 second to stretch my legs. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, yeah, because I started over the last few years, I've got a little bit more into it as well. I watched what was it called? It was an accident or something. Did you watch that? Is that?
Because the most
it was just an accident. It was just an accident last year. It was an Iranian. It was a co-production. That was it, between Iran, France, and Luxembourg. But it was about an Iranian political prisoner. A really good film.
Okay, I'll check it out. Add it to the list. But yeah, I
started watching a few more over the last year or two, but everyone was like really going on about this film last year, and I put that on. But no, it's cool. It's just interesting to hear people's different opinions on how far they'll go. So
right.
I watch most things. Horror is something that I've been gradually getting into. I definitely didn't grow up a horror fan, and circle back to this. That film does look a bit much for me, so I may just see how I feel when that comes out. So.
Fair enough. I was always a scaredy cat growing up, but I feel like I finally cracked horror like probably like 5-8 years ago at this point, and I've just been reveling in the darkness since.
So I did an episode on Tuesday with Tom where we covered off the most recent horror that had been released, Obsession and Backroom. We just both loved. So I assume you've watched both of those.
Oh yeah, and I loved Obsession. I think Backrooms, I'm still kind of unpacking that movie because I feel similar to like the movie tonight. I'm like there's a lot of vibes that happen really well in that movie, but like story wise and kind of what I wanted out of that film, I didn't quite get. But
I think you've nicely set up the segue there, which right. Okay, so Mulholland Drive, our main event for this evening, is written by David Lynch, is directed by David Lynch, is produced by various people. There's a lot there. So Mary Sweeney, Elaine Sard, Neil Ed Stein, there's a few others. It stars Naomi Watts, Laura Harring, Justin Theroux, Ann Miller, Laura Forrester, and there's many other people as well. It was released on the 12th of October 2001. It had a running time of 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was made for 15 million, and at the box office, it didn't make that much actually at the time, 20 million. I'm assuming over the last few years, it has made a lot more. Especially, it's constantly re-released on DVD, Blu-ray. They've made a new cover recently on Blu-ray. I would imagine the longevity of that movie has definitely been made back. Right, okay. So summary-wise from IMDb, after a car wreck on Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesic, she and a Hollywood hopeful search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality. That's actually a decent summary there, and I think highlighting the word dreams is an interesting thing as we progress. So, right, okay, so this film, there's a couple of little facts that I want to. Before I do facts, this movie came out in 2001 and shared the box office with some big names: Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Spirited Away, Memento, A Beautiful Mind, Moulin Rouge, to name a few. It was a big year in cinema. I can see why this film maybe didn't make as much as they maybe would have liked to have when you've got all of those big names in there. And I think this is a film that maybe to the average cinema goer probably wouldn't embrace. I think I think I would say on the rewatch I'm much more there, but I loved it the first time I watched it, but having watched it a second time with the understanding of what's going to happen is much more useful to unpack in this film, I think. So, right, I've written down a few facts that I've done in terms of research. Right, okay, so this film, which I did know already, but it was originally shot as a television pilot for ABC in 1999. However, after they viewed, the studio viewed David Lynch's initial cut, network executives hated it. I thought this bit was quite funny. One executive apparently reviewed this while standing up the whole time and eating his breakfast. So, right, okay. Then
a whole 2.5 hours.
I mean, no, because it wasn't 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's true.
Was it?
Right.
It
was 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was 90 minutes. So, because it was up until just before they go to the nightclub where the lady's singing. That's where the TV pilot ended.
Okay.
So there's a French company you may have heard of called Studio Canal. They stepped in a year later and provided the budget for Lynch to finish off his episode but turn it into a film. And obviously that's where he sat back, and I read something about how was sitting there in a chair, and it sort of this different ending came to him to change what it would have been. So right, okay. Naomi and Laura were both considered too old by executives to become stars at the time. In fact, Naomi Watts was so frustrated with her struggling career that she was on the verge of quitting acting entirely right before she was cast. This ultimately launched, though, into her Hollywood stardom. So it's weird, isn't it? I keep hearing about this. Actors and actresses like Gal Gadot, apparently she was going to pack it in before she got Wonder Woman. And I've heard about a few people that are like, I'm going to quit. And then suddenly that one more role comes in that turns things around. Okay, so David Lynch was this is the last one I've written here. David Lynch was so particular about how audience experienced the film's complex dreamlike atmosphere that he had typed a note with specific instructions shipped to movie theaters worldwide. He strictly requested that projectionists set the audio exactly 3 decibels louder than usual and adjust the framing slightly higher to ensure actors' heads weren't accidentally cut off by standard theatrical aspect ratios. You hear about this a lot there, where directors get involved as well for the viewing element, which I think is brilliant, how involved they are and not just being there on the day. Like, they want the people in the audience to see the thing that they've made, how they believe it should be viewed, which I like hearing that. So I haven't written this down, but me and Laurence were chatting before we recorded that this movie, which was originally a TV show, or as a pilot, was supposed to be a Twin Peaks spin-off TV series. However, after the cancellation of Twin Peaks and the prequel movie bombed, nobody wanted to go anywhere near anything Twin Peaks. And David Lynch, not being one to leave ideas sitting around, he decided to take his idea of a young, naive lady going to Hollywood and then roll that out into what eventually became Mulholland Drive. Now, Mulholland Drive, when it was going to be a TV show, was supposed to last for several seasons. and the mysteries that were set up in the first half of the film were meant to last several seasons. Obviously, that never ended up happening. So there you go. But what do you think about all of those bits and pieces I just brought out?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that I was surprised most about was that I found out that it was a pilot last night after watching the movie, because this is probably the second time I've seen this movie. The first time I saw it, absolutely hated it. I think most regular movie goers will probably see this movie, and much like Backrooms, I was entertained watching everyone talk to each other, and the number of shrugs I saw at the end of that movie, I was kind of entertained by.
Oh, Backrooms, you mean?
Yeah. Like people just kind of being like, I don't know what to think about that. And I definitely left Mulholland Drive the first time feeling that way. I was telling Mark that it was part of a film critic class, and as soon as the lights go on, my teacher just said, "What were your guys' initial thoughts?" And I was like, "That is a pile of garbage. I don't know what what I just sat through," and everyone audibly gasped. But I'll just say that this is the second time I saw this movie, and I think it played the best that it ever has. But I also had that like little cheat sheet that the DVD came with like 10 clues. So I was a little bit more engaged.
I heard about this 10 clue thing. that David Lynch put the 10 clue thing in the VHS and the DVDs and stuff like that. So so you've got the DVD or the Blu-ray?
So I looked up the clues online, and I was watching it on like a streaming service that I was just borrowing the movie from.
Okay. Yeah, so I heard about this 10 clue thing that he put it in because I was researching about the key in the blue box.
Yeah.
Apparently, he then set up the 10 clues in the thing, and I love how David Lynch's mind works in terms of creating these mysteries. But so this was meant to be a TV show that would have a mystery folding into a mystery, folding into another mystery, and ultimately ending with never having the sort of final part revealed. I think as I've got older, I'm more on board with that. I think when I was younger, stuff like that would really F me off. And I would get quite frustrated when people would leave things unresolved on the table when you're watching a film or a TV show. But now that I hopefully have matured, and I can watch something and appreciate when they leave the viewer or audience member to start to unpack it themselves. And I had great fun when I watched Obsession a couple of weeks ago. I came back from the cinema and I spent like an hour online reading everybody's theories and the craziness of it all. One of the craziest theories I read about Obsession was that Nikki was possessed by the spirit of Bear's dead cat, and I was like, I'm not down with that theory. But I was just so into how the director of Obsession had just left so many little mysteries within the script, which I thought was just so delicious to read and to watch, and then to come back to Mulholland Drive. First time I watched it was this year in January, and I wanted to watch it because it was one of those films that everybody goes on about, and everyone and I mentioned it, like I say, a couple of days ago, and someone was like, "Oh, please tell me you've watched Mulholland Drive." And I was like, "I actually have watched it," and I mean, it's a lot of people are like, "Oh, you've got to have watched it," and I know that David Lynch is really highly regarded, but I don't believe, and I actually just pulled it up to double check, I've not watched anything else by David Lynch other than this movie, which I'm sure people now will probably give me a hard time for that. But anyway, watching it the first time, I was really struck by the twist that does happen. I didn't see it coming. I didn't feel it was set up enough the first time I watched it. However, watching it a second time, I wouldn't say it was massively set up, but you could definitely see it coming maybe about 5-10 minutes before it did. Like the theatre show, the key, and the mystery element was like hanging over it because of the gangster and the other bits and pieces and the amnesia and all the rest of it. So this clearly was a mystery show. But now rewatching it this second time, I've got so much more appreciation for kind of the psychology of it all, and definitely feel there's a supernatural element here. And I feel like we have this kind of almost like a spirit, if you know what I mean, like hanging over, or what was it? I've gone blank on the name. Was it? Oh, that was it. Rita. I feel like Rita was definitely, well, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't her. It was Camilla, wasn't it? But I feel like Camilla, her spirit definitely attached itself to Naomi Watts' character in the dream, and it felt like the first 2 hours or so of this film that were this dream state were definitely her subconscious. And then in the last few moments where Rita's in that room on her own, to me it was like the realization of I'm dead, and I felt like that could only a dream character wouldn't know that. So I've interpreted this, and this is what I love about films like this. It's your interpretation as well as and you know, we can have conversations about it, but watching it the second time, I got more into it and started to try and work it out a lot more. And I'm like on board with potentially Rita realizing that she's not alive and that this world isn't real, and then the weirdness of her looking around the room, and then it's all just the light changes, and then the sort of the second 40 sort of almost like the second act of the film, the last 45 minutes just really shift into, obviously the sort of the curtain is pulled back and the reality suddenly starts to arrive. I'm not normally a fan of like TV shows where it's a dream episode. I hate stuff like that normally. I don't know about you. Do you hate those kind of things, or?
Originally, I would have said no, but I saw the movie The Home with Pete Davidson. It's another horror movie, and my God, I was so tired by the end of that movie. Like, I loved it, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I swear, if this is another dream, I'm gonna lose my stuff.
So I find that dream episodes tend to be put into shows that are like 20 plus episodes. You know, they used to do it back in the day with things like Star Trek and Stargate and all these other things. They throw in these like random dream episodes, and I would normally skip over them. I would just be like, I'm not interested. Or they do these weird things in sci-fi. They connect somebody into a machine, and they'd have to go into their mind, and then they have to, you know, battle somebody in someone's mind. And I'm like, I'm really not interested in any of this shit. So, but this movie, the first 2 hours is a dream, and then what I loved is that we kind of got to see those characters in a different light in the dream, and then we got to see the reality of those characters once the curtain pulled back. And it was I liked seeing the dynamic and the shift between like the different versions that we got, because Naomi's character in the dream, she sees herself so differently to how the world sees her. And it's interesting actually to have 2 hours in her mind to see how she sees herself as this naive up and coming actress making it, etc. But actually the reality is she's sitting in the background, jealous of what her friend's doing and the success of her friend. So seeing that contrast was an interesting take. What about you? Obviously, after a second viewing, did you start to shift from that I hated it into now maybe appreciating it, or are you still on the I hate it train?
I think I still kind of hate the movie. I appreciate what's happening in the movie. So, like, first off, I will give David Lynch all the credit in the world for turning a pilot episode into a dreamscape movie that makes sense when you understand what this movie is. But again, it's kind of a high bar to clear for people to just kind of go and watch a movie, right? Like, if you're on Friday night, like, what should I watch? You put on Mulholland Drive. Chances are you might sit there being like, I've made a poor choice tonight. The cinematography is amazing. The acting is amazing. I love the score and the soundtrack. The performance in the Silencio Opera Club. Just that was probably the most powerful I've ever felt connected to this movie. But I think part of the problem is that, like, I had that little cheat sheet, so I was using that to kind of help me engage the movie. And I think my problem is that, like, the movie is moving at such a glacier pace that, like, by the time that you see the red lamp again, like, that's one of the clues that he left. It was kind of like, oh, I suppose I might have caught that on my own if this movie was a little shorter and a little tighter. But after 2 hours in like a dream world, I'm kind of sitting there going like, look at my bingo card, like, oh, right, the red lamp. I should be paying attention to what's happening here, kind of a thing. But there is a level of disengagement while I'm watching that movie that just it takes so long that, like, the weird part is as soon as the 2 hour part is over and we get to the third act, I'm much more engaged and I'm like interested in what's happening here. Whereas like that first part, I love the portrayals of those characters, but at the same time, I'm just kind of sitting there going like, this is taking forever and I don't know where we're going. And then by the end of the movie, the first time and kind of the second time around, I was still kind of sitting there going like, but did that really all make sense? Like, does it only make sense because I have the cheat sheet?
I feel like it makes a lot more sense watching it a second time than it did watching it the first time. I didn't know. I went into it the first time. I watched it in January this year. When I watched it for the first time, I deliberately didn't read anything about it. I just put it on and watched it. And when that that nightclub sequence where they say, come on, let's go out, and they end up in this nightclub sequence and they suddenly become really emotional, and then the singing still carries on after the performer sort of falls on the floor, and kind of I feel like it's meant to represent death, and then they're both getting incredibly emotional. That first time I was like, what the heck is this scene? Like, what is going on? But then now rewatching it, understanding actually the enormity and actually how powerful that scene is, as the reality is hitting both of them, that they're not in the real world, and actually Rita's starting to realize I'm dying or dead, or this isn't a real world. And that's why it strikes me that whilst it's a dream sequence, I truly don't believe that she is part. I think she's in the dream, but I don't think she's part of the dream. I think it is her. Like, I think she's maybe her death
memory.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's some sort of spirit thing that's happened. I think it's definitely a supernatural thing, and it is a film that takes multiple watches to unpack. But yeah, like so you said about the cinematography, the acting, and again, I want to give, like you said a minute ago, give props to David for having a pilot and then creating this additional 45 minutes to turn a pilot into this crazy movie, which has become so highly regarded. How he was able to shift what would have been the setup for maybe a 3 or 4 season TV show into a film that's been really highly regarded. But what a shift is like. I mean, it's crazy to me turning a TV pilot into a movie. And I don't think that's often happened, especially to this degree, because people talk about this movie with such high regard. But and you mentioned as well a minute ago on Jump On, is this the kind of film you're going to put on a Friday night to chill out with your partner, and you had a hard week of work, and what should we put on tonight? Oh, let's put on Mulholland Drive. I don't think most people are putting this on to relax to. This is something, I think, a bit like what we've done here. It's kind of watched because we're cinephiles, or it's because you're in a class doing a review, or for tonight we're doing an episode on it. It's something that people, I feel, mostly are in that movie fan world. I just don't see casual viewers watching this. I don't think it's easily accessible, and probably not really rewarding for the average person to watch. I think people like me and you, where we become over analytical, I think there's a lot there to unpack, which is cool. And I like your clue thing. I might have to watch it again now and use the clue, the little cheat sheet.
Yeah, I can send that to you or put it in the comments.
Would you watch it again?
So it's a funny thing that you asked me that, because the movie that I feel like I've watched over and over again, trying to understand, like, not on a narrative level, just understand the cultural importance of it, or interest in it, is Blade Runner. So I watch that movie every year, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to understand it and appreciate it, but I don't think it's my cup of tea when I compare it to like Blade Runner 2049, right? Like that, the sequel to me is the movie that I was wanting from the first movie, but you don't really get the second movie without the first. But I think that this would be a movie that I would watch kind of once a year to see if I feel better about it, because like I definitely
I would watch it again. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like I just have that feeling where it's sort of like sometimes movies get a pass for being brilliant because people don't understand the movie, or like they didn't understand it, so therefore it's brilliant. I saw the movie The Lighthouse, and I remember this group of kids sitting next to me, and they just turned to each other and they just said, "I don't know what we just watched, man, but it felt important." And I'm just like sitting there like, no. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to rewatch this movie again and have the cheat sheet again, or maybe try it without the cheat sheet next time and see if I clue into it. But it's funny that you mentioned the idea of turning a pilot into a movie, because the most recent attempt at that was Moana 2. I don't know if you saw it, but I hated that movie, and that made no sense. But nobody's telling me that they didn't understand it and it was brilliant.
I didn't know that. So Moana 2 was meant to be a pilot.
Moana 2 was supposed to be a series, like originally, and then they were like, "Oh, let's turn this into a movie." And if you've seen it, anyone who's seen it, it's so incoherent, and just like there's so many things just kind of happening in that movie that you're like, when you're told it's supposed to be a show, you're like, oh, they either didn't record or film that portion of it to include that. They were like, it's fine.
I never saw the first Moana, but I did see Moana 2. Like me and my kids and my wife, we went to see Moana 2. They all wanted to go, and I kept saying, "Oh, but I haven't even watched the first one." They're like, they kept telling me I have. I was like, "No, I can promise you, I haven't seen the first one." But anyway, I watched it. I thought it was alright. But now that you mentioned Moana, the live action movie is coming out soon. Right. Man, The Rock looks terrible. It really does. I genuinely think that should have been a recast for somebody else. I do not think that should have been him.
Yeah, I mean, it always blows my mind with like CGI, where we could do something like Chris Evans as Steve Rogers on a really skinny body before he gets his like bulk Captain America body. That I'm like, did we not want to fix this in other movies?
So, do you know, I just want to come back to the cast. I think what's cool about this movie, right, is firstly I want to highlight the two detectives. Robert Forrester, who is, I know he's sadly passed away now, massive Breaking Bad role that he had as the kind of guy who could make you disappear and start a new life. What was cool about this was they were going to have much bigger roles if it was a TV series. I think this is when you pick it apart, they just disappear from the film. They sort of set up these detectives at the beginning that then just, that's it, they never come back to them, which I think is kind of weird. But like, I just think there's so many oddities about the elements of the cast. So like the hitman guy, for instance, like that scene, that I honestly think that scene is hilarious, where they show this hitman. And what's weird is it's in the dream sequence, right? So I don't know if this sequence really happened or didn't happen or whatever it was, where he goes and kills someone and uses a silencer and then goes to take a shot, goes through the wall, and suddenly this woman starts screaming and he's like, oh. So then he has to then go next door and she's like, something stung me. And he realizes now I've got to kill this woman. So he starts taking the woman out. And then the guy who's cleaning as well sees, and he's like, oh, can you come here and help me? So then he's like the worst hitman going. He's sort of so badly botched this job, and I don't know whether that was the dream sequence or not the dream sequence, but it was obviously something they had to do to kind of set up for when we went back to the real world. So I don't know if you I forgot the name of that actor now, but he was in the Supernatural TV series. He played Lucifer. There's quite a few faces in this film, is what I'm trying to say, that you do recognize elsewhere. But yeah, it is weird that this film, the person who had the most amount of success though was Naomi Watts.
Yeah, and I love her in The Impossible, which I think that came out in 2012, 11. But I mean, yeah, to your point about her kind of getting ready to leave Hollywood and quit her career. She's probably the best part of this movie, just in terms of her performance like in the dream and then outside of the dream.
I
But
completely loved how she handled the swapping of the characters, like from the naive, vulnerable, kind of caring character for Rita and trying to help her. I did actually, that was something I quite liked, was seeing the two of them partner up together to try and, I know it was in the dream sequence, but to see how she's trying to help Rita find out who she is, and they're going off investigating and seeing because basically the goal with this was meant to be that she would go from one extreme to another throughout the TV series. She would go from being naive to sort of the polar opposite. But we did get to see the polar opposite in the second half of the film. It's such a flip in development for her to go from the naive up and coming actress to suddenly being this almost like crackhead looking girl in a what's it, in a little cafe place.
The Winkies diner.
Sitting there trying, paying off this guy to kill her because she's jealous, and her whole mannerisms and demeanor has completely shifted. I do love it when you can see the range for an actor and an actress in the same movie. To see that range, she's definitely the standout for this film.
But yeah, it's one of those. This movie is frustrating to me only because of the idea that so much of the dream logic is there. I can put a link to an interview or a Q&A with David Lynch where he talks about how he validates everyone's feelings even though they're confused and frustrated. And again, I feel like in my more mature, older age, I understand that this is a more abstract movie, kind of very avant-garde. But I think that there's something to be said about how frustrating it can be to want to have answers, and especially when you provide clues in the DVD, and that you don't really give people that. That can be that's the rub for me, and I understand why some people would feel the same way.
Yeah. So. Is there any moments from this film though that stand out to you? Anything that really was your highlight of the film?
Again, I think that it's the opera, because I feel like while I was watching this movie, I'm watching it and I'm kind of disengaged during I find moments that I enjoy, like you said, with Naomi and Laura, kind of figuring out the mystery, kind of the buddy cop film without them being cops. But it's not until we get to the opera, which I thought I was going to hate this time around, because I remember being the first time seeing that and just being I don't get this, I hate it. But this time I was kind of moved by that, the way that I feel that feeling you're supposed to get when you watch that sequence. And then from there I'm just on the ride, full steam ahead to the end of the credits. But once they kind of do the hobo ghost angel of death sequence, I'm still kind of sitting there reading all these people's opinions and deciphering what they think everything means. I'm I don't know if I necessarily see that. I see it now that you say it, but I don't know if anyone would have gotten that necessarily just watching it, or at least I wouldn't have.
I do agree though. I think that opera scene, the first time around, I wasn't on board with it at all. I was I remember, because the whole film had really been a slow burn. I would say up until that opera scene, the whole film felt like pieces of things slowly being put together, and you could see the TV show vibe for probably the first 90 minutes. And you've got these different people operating in different areas. For instance, we've got the director. I forget the bloody name of that guy now that he had to meet up with in the in the middle of nowhere, and he's ordered that he has to hire this girl, and so you see the different storylines slowly plotted along throughout the first 90 minutes. The Hollywood corruption. You obviously got the main characters of Betty and the amnesia, and I'm considering that this is linked to that somehow. That there's some bigger crime story going on, that eventually Betty will get sewed back into the drama with the detectives and that guy that the director has to meet up with. So I'm assuming that this is sort of a LA Confidential style film. That's how I'm feeling about this movie. And it's again, slow paced, and I'm cool with all of that. I like it. It was slowly unpacking it. There's lots of little bits here and there, and then we suddenly fold reality, and that scene in the the Opera House really threw me off the first time I watched it. I thought, I don't get this. Like, where has this come about? You're starting to lay the groundwork for some sort of drama crime movie, and suddenly you've got this weird emotional thing that I didn't quite get, and then we go back to the apartment, and then suddenly everything fades, and then it became this whole other thing. And the first time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck? It's like, but now watching it again, knowing this is happening, and that pivotal moment is almost like the wake up, the kind of slap in the face, the bucket of water, the shock to the system that these characters needed. And I don't know if you've ever woken up from a dream really confused and like, did that happen? Am I, like those days where you wake up sometimes on a Saturday thinking you've got work today.
Yeah.
And there's been there's an episode of Friends. Do you ever watch Friends? Or did you watch Friends? Yeah, where Phoebe was convinced, like this whole episode, that her and Ross had fallen out or something, because it was something that happened in a dream or something, and it is how powerful dreams can be, and also like when something's bothering you, that in your subconscious, that they feed back into your mind. I've probably never been so on board with watching a movie where this is so dream driven and the subconscious is there. And I think what we're seeing here is actually Naomi's character. A lot of this world is representative of her own guilt, and that opera scene is the moment that starts to pull the curtain away, and for us as a viewer to now be exposed. And I know that wasn't how David Lynch initially put this together, but it is cool how he's figured out how to shift this story into a very unique thing that we do get to see. So yeah, look, I'm like you. I'm like, it's kind of, you can approach it from 2 points of view. Like from the average cinema goer, they're probably not going to love it, but for someone like me, there's so much to unpack here that we've created a podcast episode on it. So I appreciate that. So, yeah, I would watch it again, and I think I'd like to do it with those clues.
Yeah. I feel the same way, but I think that it's always interesting to see how it's done, right? Because like in this situation, it's fascinating that he turned this pilot into this dreamscape thing that surprisingly works really well. I think the frustration I had with something with like Backrooms is that your character is supposed to be like a therapist, and when she experiences this back room, she should be able to somewhat articulate her thoughts and feelings, but I feel like that movie, that character kind of shuts down after everything she goes through.
It's weird you're talking about Backrooms in comparison to Mulholland Drive, because I can actually now seeing. You mentioned it a few times comparing this, and I wasn't seeing it until now. There's a lot of similarities in that film, actually. So when they do go into the back room, it is a twisted version of their own mind, and both of them, how they handle dealing with that is very different. So, with the male character in Back Room, he in some ways just accepts the nightmare world and kind of wants to be a part of it because he can't accept to deal with his own trauma. Where she goes into it and actually she learns from it and takes that trauma for self-development. And this Mulholland Drive, that first sort of almost 2 hours is the trauma of what she's done and her almost coping mechanism. And then once the curtain's been pulled, parts of the dream world start to pull a little bit back into reality, where Camilla does show up in the apartment. Right. Which I remember that first time I watched it, I was so freaking confused. But now I can see this is just, it's her still dealing with it. What she's done is traumatized her. So it's cool how David Lynch has put this together. I can really admire it from 2 points of view. One, how he's put it all together in terms of the storytelling, but secondly, how he's managed to alter a TV pilot into this really bizarre kind of sci-fi dramatic movie. So yeah, because the other movie I would recommend people check out, as far as if they're looking for dreamscape stuff, it's a horror movie called Skinamarink. I feel like that's the opposite of something like Backrooms, where the surrogate storytellers are just a bunch of kids, and like it's very dream influency. Like, what are you seeing something that is actually there, or is it just
all kind of like, you know, an ink blot where you're like, I'm seeing what I want to see. But there isn't very much of a narrative through line there, but I accept that because, you know, if a 6-year-old is going to tell me what's going on in their lives, that story is probably not going to make nearly as much sense, or at least I would hope that like a therapist would be trying to tell me something that's happening. And then this movie kind of is like just the average person dealing with their dreams and what that all means.
Oh yeah. It is weird. Like, I woke up from a dream a couple of weeks ago, and I spent probably the first few minutes questioning whether it happened. Because, so in the dream, what it was is I had a dream about a colleague of mine who had got married that weekend, and in my dream, I got up for work and called her. Like we'd spoken on the Friday, she'd gone off and done, like, this is in reality, she'd gone off done her own thing. And on the Monday morning, I woke up as if I was now back at work, and I'd called her, and she just said, "Oh, by the way, I got married at the weekend." And for the first 10 minutes well, maybe 5 minutes or something, as I was getting up, I was like, "Did that happen?" I was like, sort of trying to reevaluate. You know, you're groggy and trying to evaluate it, and then I just said to my wife, and I was like, she went, "No, that didn't happen. Like that, you dreamed that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, you know, you just sometimes wake up a bit confused, and that's how I felt like a bit about the Camilla sequences after she woke up with her, you know, because she seemed quite groggy and not very with it. And I imagine she's probably weighed down by the enormity and the guilt of what she's done. And that's bleeding through, because you do hear a lot about this, people that go and commit those type of crimes, and it lives with them. Some people end up confessing it, and some people end up almost getting caught through their own stupidity because they're so overwhelmed by what they've done, they lose that ability to function normally. And that's how I felt like I was watching her was unraveling now by her own guilt. And I thought David Finch really demonstrated that fantastically by showing those bleeds coming back in. So
yeah,
there's a lot to admire about this film. Whilst it's not an easy watch, I think there's a lot in it to admire, I would say.
I would agree.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to be here all night. What would you rate it out of 5? It's a hard one, I can admit.
I think right now, if I were doing my second take of rating it, I might be at like a 3.5 out of 5. Okay. Whereas the first time I probably was like at a half star.
But though, that's the thing that we said though. Sometimes watching it a second time, but also having conversations like this. I've come on here before, and I've come in with like, I don't know, a 2 out of 5, and I've suddenly been on here, and I'm like, no, actually, I'm like a 3 or a 4 out of 5 because you guys have really sold the film to me. So,
right.
Yeah, I think I can't remember why I gave it a 4 or 5 last time. I feel like I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5 this time around.
Okay.
I admire a lot about this film. I think the ingenuity, his intelligence, David Fincher's intelligence, and how he has resuscitated this and cleverly sewn together quite a dark, seedy story, really, in what doesn't start off that way in my mind, and you know, just also getting actors to show their, especially Naomi, to show her range. I admire a lot about this, and I would watch it again. So, there is something I forgot to shout out at the beginning of this episode when I was doing the news. So I just want to come back to a piece of news I forgot all about shouting out. I got confused with all the trailers and stuff, and I just want to shout out something that happened a couple of days ago that really, really peed me off. So I'm a huge Stargate TV fan. I watched all of Stargate SG-1. I watched all of Atlantis, all of Stargate Universe. I have actually rewatched those shows many times. And last year, and I announced it on this show last year, they were going to bring it back. The original creators, the producers, etc., that were around for most of the original 17 seasons that we had, they were involved in the resurrection. They were going to carry the lore across whilst making the show adaptable. However, since it was greenlit and 2 years of production have been put into bringing this new show to Prime, there's been some change in leadership, and you can blame a guy called Blair Fetter, who has come from Netflix. It's all he's basically worked on is Netflix, He's been brought over. He has seen what they've done with Stargate and what they were going to start making, and he shut it down. And whilst he said, "I want to still make Stargate stuff," he said, "I just want." He said he felt that this show was going to be too geared towards the existing fan base, and wants to start a show that's essentially starting from scratch and something that has a more broader appeal. And there's a lot of angry people, including myself. And if people like the people behind Star Wars and Star Trek, which is Paramount and Disney, are able to make random shows like Picard or Star Trek Discovery at random points in time, and even Star Wars, they create many TV shows that are jumping back and forth through the 9 episode, the Skywalker saga, they'd sort of open up. And if fans are able to pick those up, and also I'm assuming non-massive Star Wars fans or Star Trek fans are able to jump on things that look, interesting to them, why can't we do that with Stargate? Why have we got to abandon 17 years of mythology for some random dude, or that's never watched it before? Because if you've done it with those other people, Blair, maybe you're not the man for the job, mate. Maybe you need to go and speak to the people at Paramount that have, something's got to be said for something that's going on at Netflix. They're not very good at managing IP. Look at Lord of the Rings with I've not watched it, but I watched the first episode and I thought it was awful, that TV series. So I carry on with it. But that was something I wanted to shout out. I meant to shout it out at the beginning, but yeah, shout it out now. So yeah, you obviously saw the news about Stargate. Were you a fan of it or not?
So I'm not a Stargate fan. I've never seen the show. I'm actually watching MacGyver. So I mean, the akinment to the oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Dean Richard Anderson. No, I'm disappointed for the fans in that, like, when I saw that headline, I thought that was a joke, right? Where it's like, you're canceling this because you're mad that the fans want this. I understand what they want. Like, I mean, we all live in the post Endgame Marvel Avengers world that, like, everyone wants to make that money either at the box office or at home. But it blows my mind that you would be like, it's what Marvel was doing originally, or maybe not Marvel, but when they were kind of picking it. No, it was Marvel. They were picking and choosing indie directors, where it was like with Ant-Man, it was supposed to be, oh my God, Andrew Wright. Edgar Wright, thank you. Sorry, I totally butchered that. But like, you hire Edgar Wright to make this movie. You watch the movie and you go, this is too much of an Edgar Wright movie. Like, can we get somebody else? It's like going to McDonald's and being like, I wanted Burger King, and you're like, you don't get that here. and so yeah, like, I was just trying to look up the producers, credits for Blair Fetter, and it's like, he did The Queen's Gambit. I remember that was a big thing, Big Mouth, and BoJack Horseman as far as executive producing. But I'm sad for all the Stargate fans, but it blows my mind that we're still playing this game of executive producers, quote unquote, knowing what real people want. Like, I mean, the Batgirl debacle at Warner Brothers, where they're like, we've got a movie, let's just throw that in the bin.
Buffy. The new Buffy series that got cancelled. Yeah. Like, literally, if there's one thing I honestly didn't think was going to get cancelled, it was that. Like, I honestly thought that was a slam dunk. This is what I don't get. You've got an existing fan base. Yes, there is an existing fan base to Buffy, to Stargate. But it doesn't mean that you go and make a show that's inaccessible for new people, right? So Buffy wasn't going to do that. They were putting a new Slayer at the front. They created Slayer. Yes, Sarah Michelle Gellar was going to be there, but she was probably going to be unfortunately, the Giles of the show. That's how I was seeing it, that she probably would have quite reduced screen time. Maybe not in the pilot, but maybe as the show progressed.
Went on. Yeah.
I would imagine it was going to be built along, I can't remember the character's name now for the new girl they got in. But I imagine that they would have, 70% of the episode, and maybe Sarah Michelle Gellar's character would get maybe 5 or 10%. But she was going to be there to wingman this into the current day by bringing in, she was there to bring the old fans across, but all of the new cast, because it was going to be all new cast other than her, was to bring in new fans. So they were very much written out to be approachable to new people. But yeah, I don't know, these these people that sit in these ivory towers that think they know that what we want to watch. It's like, no, we know what we want to watch, but you're just not giving it to us. So
I wish that we could get like, you know, the polls from like studios, you know, after you go see a movie and ask them what you liked and what you didn't like, and just kind of see the reaction to that, where, you know, if people were like, I want more Stargate, and then they were like, we're going to do Stargate. Just kidding. Actually, it's just the hardcore fans, so never mind. And you're like, but you have the paperwork there telling you what people want, and and you just blatantly do the opposite.
yeah, no, definitely. So, right, what I'm going to do is, firstly, thank you for coming on. It's been amazing to have you on, and look, hopefully, you know, feel free to come back anytime you'd like to. Right, for the next episode, I'm actually going to be back tomorrow night for Spider-Man Noir, and then the following Friday, me and a few others should be back for Masters of the Universe, the new film that's just come out this week. So there's actually a few of us lined up for next week. So I look forward to covering off Masters of the Universe, which I was around the 80s, and I look forward to breaking this down, and probably would have watched it about 17 times by the time next Friday rolls along. Right, okay, so we're on all of the social medias. Come follow us, say hi, etc. And if you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please again like and subscribe. And yeah, appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Have a good one.
Bye.